Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our Monday, June 6, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting. At 5 o'clock, we had a work session to discuss school capacity for Tulsa Creek Elementary School. At this time, I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. And the first order of business is our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. And we have no one signed up, and I'll ask if the Vice Chairman would do so lead us tonight.
I'd be happy to.
I know you would.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this glorious day, Lord, and thank you for this wonderful county. Lord, I pray that as the beginnings of this year's service season is upon us, Lord, I pray that first and foremost, safety over all of our guests, all of our residents. Lord, I pray that you would bring calmness to everybody, Lord, that there would be a little more patience, a little more grace extended to those around us. Father, I pray that you would give us wisdom this evening as we consider the items before us on tonight's agenda. Lord, I thank you for the favor that you've shown our county. And Lord, I thank you that first and foremost we lift you up. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Beaumont. Okay, our next item is the approval of the agenda. Is there any amendments to the agenda that we need to make? I will make one under new business. I'd like to strike item B, not B, item A, on the approval of design for Tulsa Creek until the following meeting, the second meeting of this month. Is there any other changes to the agenda? If not, can I get a motion for approval?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. All right. Our next item is public comment. And this evening, I have one person signed up. If you could come up and state your name and address for the record, and this is the time for you to discuss anything that you would like to discuss, and the commissioners will listen intently, and we have Cameron Lowe.
Indeed. So I'm Cameron Lowe, 619 Idlet Road, and it's my honor to be here tonight to present the Governor's Volunteer Award. So I would like to ask Ms. Kathleen Foreman and Ms. Diane Newbern to please step forward. The Governor's Volunteer Award was established in 1979 to recognize outstanding volunteers who give service to their community that goes above and beyond in the realm of volunteerism. And this year's winner from Currituck County is one that is very near and dear to several of our hearts, mine included. And I'll let Ms. Kathleen read her nomination.
Thank you. My name is Kathleen Foreman, and I'm the District Administrator for the Guardian Ad Litem program for the 1st Judicial District, which of course includes Currituck County. The Guardian Ad Litem program, for those who aren't familiar with it, is a state program, and it is funded through our legislature. And the purpose of the program is to provide a trained community volunteer to work with an attorney advocate, and they form a partnership, and together they come to court and they advocate for the best interest of abused and neglected children in our community. Our nomination was prepared by my colleague, Ricky Tillett, and I would just like to read what they sent to the governor's office. Diane Newbern has done an exemplary job of advocating for abused and neglected children this past year. She has managed multiple children's cases at the same time and always provides a level of professionalism that is without question. Diane always presents strong voices in the court and advocates for the children's needs. Her investigations are always thorough and well-researched. The recommendations she makes to the court are intelligent, sensitive, and always right on point. She spends time talking with the children who are involved in the court process to make sure that they understand what is happening. She visits the children in a variety of settings to make sure that she has a complete understanding of the lives and their situations. Diane makes each case a priority and always puts the best interest of the child first. She brings a wealth of educational knowledge to her role as guardian ad litem and ensures that each child she represents is having all of their educational needs met. Diane demonstrates a strong commitment to the guardian ad litem program and always takes time at court to mentor newer volunteers. It is an honor and a privilege to work with Diane. She is very active in Currituck County, and she's active in community activities as well as her church. She always presents a positive, inspiring attitude, and for these reasons, she should be considered as a candidate for the Governor's Volunteer Service Award. And so.
All right, and so without further ado, we have the Governor's Award for Volunteer Service. This is to certify that Diane Newbern is hereby awarded the highest designation of appreciation for distinguished volunteer service to the people and state of North Carolina, and is to be granted and extended all honors and courtesies provided by this office, entitled thereunto by this certificate of recognition and appreciation. So, Ms. Newbern, we love you, we thank you, and congratulations.
And a well-deserved individual there. She's a hard worker. Speech.
Congratulations. Mr.
Congratulations again. Thank you very much. Okay, I have no one else signed up under public comment. Is there anyone who showed up late that wishes to speak on public comment that hasn't signed up? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting. And our next item is our Commissioner's Report, and I'm going to start off to my left here with Commissioner Jarvis.
Thank you. On June 6, 1944, more than 160,000 Allied troops landed along a 50-mile stretch of the heavily Nazi-fortified beaches of Normandy, France. Total Allied casualties in the Battle of Normandy, which dragged on until August, topped 226,000 individuals. But due to this massive and honorable sacrifice, D-Day marked a decisive turning point in World War II. Like many of you, I took pause to honor the men and women who have given their lives for our country on Memorial Day. From the Revolutionary War to today's many conflicts worldwide, the lives of these heroes secured our freedoms. But to me, there's something more sobering about the service that June 6th evokes in me. Perhaps it was the World War II class I took in college with Dr. Jackson that left an indelible print on my mind. Maybe it was the opening scenes in Saving Private Ryan that I've seen many times. Many of these young men never had a chance to survive, and they knew it, but they stormed ahead anyway, regardless of the danger. Those that miraculously made it ashore didn't stop, but pushed ahead. That kind of courage and love of one's country is never lost on me. It's powerful enough to make me grateful, proud, and indebted to all that we have in this country that most days most of us take for granted. So for all the Gold Star families out there, your loved ones are heroes that I celebrate, and I thank God for their ultimate sacrifice that we can gather freely, speak, and worship freely in this country. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Jarvis. Commissioner Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Wednesday, May the 18th, Commissioner Owen Etheridge and myself attended the open house at the new 911 Communications Center located in the Public Safety Building. What a top-of-the-line operation, and we can all be proud of this. The telecommunicators are our first responders and do an excellent job, and now they have a facility to make this job run a little bit smoother for them. Remember, though, since the office is now located in Barco, it does have a new non-emergency phone number. That number now is 252-453-3633, and emergencies are still the universal 911. Also on Tuesday the 24th, Commissioner Jarvis and myself had the pleasure of touring the remainder of the schools in our county. The school board and the commissioners set up 2 days for touring our school. Ms. Jarvis and I now have been in every school in the county. And we just want to say, from kindergartners to the high school seniors, we certainly want their school experience to be one of the best in the state, and we appreciate all that the school system does. Last but certainly not least, I'm proud that on our agenda tonight is the discussion of adding an ethics statement before the start of each of our meetings. Thank you, and that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Etheridge. Commissioner White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Selena, you brought up a memory when you talked about Normandy. My grandfather was there, and he didn't talk about the war, but after he ended up with brain cancer later in life, and he relived that war. And he said, I hit the beach of private, and I left the beach of sergeant. That's how many people died. He begged to go to that to the war effort. They had him in the school. They wanted him teaching something to do with tanks, and he said, "No, I'm going to go fight." And so he did. He was lucky enough to walk away, but it's just an interesting memory that you brought up. So that's it for me tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll just say, Ms. Jarvis did bring, couldn't have said any better, Commissioner Jarvis, of what you said, but it did bring, memories. A lot of people's families fought over there, and, my wife, Judy, her father actually was in the Normandy invasion, Battle of the Bulge, and Battle of Bastogne, and he wouldn't talk about it either. He said it was just too horrific to talk about it. But just, I wish, a lot of lives were given and for the freedom that we have in this country, and I think a lot of people need to, remember that our freedom, was paid for and is still being paid for, and we need to respect that and be proud that we live in the country that we do. That's all I had to say tonight, Vice Chairman Beaumont.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Echoing the sentiments with Memorial Day, and I did receive an interesting, and I'm sure it's been copied a bunch of times, but we tend to wish people happy holiday, whatever that holiday happens to be. There is no happy associated with Memorial Day, and because it was the sacrifice of those that went before us, and those that have served, realize that it was a choice, especially in recent time. It's all volunteer force, and there could be a day where we ask those same individuals to lay down their lives for the good of our country, and consequently, and this is not necessarily local, but that's consequently when we look at things on the federal scene, that going to war should be a very deliberate decision and should not be something that we frivolously engage in, because we do pay with some of the most precious blood in this country, and that's of our youth. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Beaumont. And Commissioner McCord.
Touching on Memorial Day as well, the one thing they did this year at the graduation, and I've known they'd done it before, and our superintendent's here. I worked the graduation with the Sheriff's Department. We had 16 guys. They recognized people that had family members in the military currently or retired or whatever. They do that every year, and our area has a lot. I mean, probably close to 3/4 of the people stood up. The graduates, either mom or dad or parents or whatever, and there was a bunch of the kids that were going in the military after then. So my grandfather was a prisoner of war for 2 years, World War II, so I'm a big advocate for our military. Like I said, the graduation was awesome. The school systems did a great job. Our SRO, who is the SRO of the high school, Nathan Large, he did a very, very good job planning, organizing. Everybody was in their spots. There was no wrecks. Well, take that back. There was a little fender bump in the back of the parking lot when people were trying to get in their spots, but it was awesome. Touching next subject, Citizens Academy through the county. Randall has done a great job. Last week, I believe it was Thursday night, was the Sheriff's Department's night, Thursday or Wednesday, whatever. Those days just all run together, but they had a great crowd. They asked a lot of questions. They had fun. They toured the public safety building. It was fire and EMS, dispatch, us, the sheriff's office, and then the EMS and everybody. We set up different things, neat little programs. I think they had a good time. Negative thing, retirements. We lost last week. We lost a couple of our employees that have worked with us for quite some time. Sergeant Mike Davenport, who was stationed in Kerala. He's on the video for the parking pass and the beach rules and all that stuff on the county website. Mike retired. He is going to be really, really hard to replace because he was so organized. He cared. I mean, he did a great job, just attention to detail. I worked beach duty, and remember, I outranked him, and he was telling me I missed a spot on the vehicle that I was cleaning. I was like, I just cleaned it. You know, that's what you do. And Captain Kevin Bray retired as well, which Kevin worked here as well as he worked at the Highway Patrol. He had 30 years of service between the two. And like you said, same thing, somebody that worked, that cared, did a great job. And, you know, those guys are hard to replace. So, I mean, these young guys coming in, their shoes are heavy to fill. But last and final thing, be safe on the roads. There's road construction. There's road construction this weekend in Grandy. You know, be safe on the roads. I mean, you know, we get complaints. The number one call to dispatch, 70% of the calls is something traffic related. Just interesting because I had to turn in some stats today. In the last 2 weeks for a Governor's Highway Safety Program, we had almost 500 violations that we wrote, not counting Highway Patrol, in 2 weeks. So that, you know, people need to drive safer, drive slower, stoplights, all that kind of stuff. So like you said, because we've had some fatalities and more bad wrecks out there, and like you said, some of those are avoidable, and, you know, just be safe on the road. We live in a great place, and that bridge is not falling apart for you to get to the beach, I promise. So support your local businesses, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Ford. And last, Commissioner Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Jarvis did bring up a very salient point, and I fear our country's foundations of freedom are being shaken now by apathy, not only from our citizens, but from the general public. And Memorial Day is a day of sacrifice, and we should recognize that sacrifice. And I'm afraid that if we got into a conflict because of the dissension that we have in our country today, whether we could mount a force that could protect us. Because we're all disgruntled right now. I saw something this morning I didn't think I'd ever see, and it was gas at $5.05 a gallon, diesel at $5.79. So it's a tough time, but you know, we're Americans. We should persevere through this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Etheridge. And our next item is our county manager/attorney report.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McCord mentioned Citizens Academy. It has gone very well this year. The class attendees seem to be very interested in that they, I'm told, including the night that I was with them, did not take a break and stayed well beyond the time that they were
They did with us too.
Stay. Yeah, right. So I've heard that about every night. They have stayed well beyond the hours that were set aside for the program and did not take a break. They're that engaged and that interested. So we look forward to putting on the next session of Citizens Academy. Now, with regard to Citizens Academy, this Thursday night at 6:30, there will be the budget game. We are having the School of Government come out and do the budget game with the Citizen Academy members, as well as some county staff and departments. I think all the finance department is going to participate. I'm going to participate. Commissioners are certainly invited to come. They would prefer that you not actually participate in the game, but to mill about and maybe provide your advice and guidance to the players of the game. So we look forward to that experience this Thursday night. That will be the final meeting of. Oh, I'm sorry, it'd be at the Public Safety Building.
Okay.
That'll be the final meeting of this group of the Citizens Academy.
Maybe we'll learn something.
Secondly, I'd emailed the board on Friday, but just to remind you that on last Tuesday, County Engineer Eric Weatherly participated in a conference call with some Dare County towns and the Dare County manager. And it kind of surprised him that it involved actually a discussion about the depletion of sand resources along the Dare County beaches that have been utilized and relied upon for beach nourishment projects in Dare County, and that they were now starting to look north to the sand resources that might exist off of Corolla and Corova Beach. And so they were talking about a 2-year study and a grant application process. It would be a $2 million study cost. The grant would be for $1 million to be matched by $1 million from not only the Dare County communities, but they're asking for Currituck County's participation in that as well. But the highlight from Eric Weatherly's notes, as I forwarded to the board, was that the sand that exists in the Dare County borough areas maybe will last the towns for projects this year and in 2027. They need to find more sand. The consulting engineer wants to look at areas off of Currituck County. They're looking at 4 areas off of Currituck County that might help Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills, and Duck. In the future, they maybe will expand Area A. That borough Area A is a site just off of Kill Devil Hills. Or look up north off Currituck. And that there's enough sand resources in borough Area A, that's that part off of Kill Devil Hills, for this year's project and 2027. As I mentioned to you in my email, it also kind of raises a question as to the long-term sustainability of beach nourishment as a way to protect our coastline and a way to protect infrastructure along the coastline if, after several cycles of beach nourishment projects, now Dare County beaches find themselves with a depleted sand resource apparently, and they're looking to their neighbors, us to the north, for further sand resources. So this sand resource is in state waters, so as things exist now under the law, anybody would have access and rights to that sand. So there's something. I'm sorry?
Can they take it out?
That's mud.
Yeah.
It's different.
So I wanted the board to be aware of that. This is certainly something we need to stay on top of, and understand that this may cause a little bit of difference in interest, of course, between Currituck and our Dare County neighbors. But
So they've been nourishment about every 4 or 5 years, have they been? Every 6 years they've been going through this?
and that's a storm has come along and taken out sand. I think they've been able to do with some FEMA reimbursement, some additional.
But I mean, but the
nourishment.
sand is not staying put in place.
I know this year's project, at least as memory serves me, was $119 million for the
Right.
project this year in Dare County.
Wow.
Running a cost of approximately anywhere from $2 to $3.5 million per mile. So Currituck County has 23 miles. I'll let everyone do their own math. I think one of the things that occurred to me in listening to that, Ike, is how sustainable is that, and I'll use borrowing of the sand from the ocean, how sustainable is that really? And the answer, I think, clearly is it's not very sustainable. Mm-hmm. I know when I got your email and after discussions with you, I did speak to Bobby Hanig, and he had not heard of that report. He was very concerned. Actually, he kind of laughed at the mere thought of going north to Currituck County to get sand for for Dare County, and to the effect of, well, that's not going to happen. But I would suggest that we not assume that that's going to be, applied, and anything that we can do to ensure that sand from offshore of one county can't be removed without some form of approval by that county, I would strongly suggest that an ounce of prevention versus trying to play catch up. And this may also be another opportunity, as I've said before, beach nourishment, the way we're doing it it's a Band-Aid approach, and it's something that has to be redone probably every 4 years, but it's milked for 6. we need to open up the door to other discussion about a more permanent fix or a more permanent solution to impact on the beach. You know, Bob and I have talked at length over the possibility of some form of structure. I know the Army Corps of Engineers has done research and analysis on that, something that it doesn't eliminate wave action, but it helps take some of the kick out of long-term impact from storms. You know, there's a lot of things that would be of a benefit of that. Number one, it's a more, if it's not a permanent, it's pretty darn close to a permanent fix, number one. Number two, it would open up ecotourism. Now we've got structures that we could actually go scuba diving on, for example, or could, you know, for fishing, for example. So I think, you know, now's a classic time that I think we should, you know, potentially start wading into those waters and see what it would take from a state perspective. Because currently, as I understand it, it's against statute for any municipality to build or county to do something on the beach or off the beach.
That's correct.
I think now's the time. Anyway,
I would agree with that.
my 2 cents.
What the question we have to ask about Currituck County, what would be the benefit of doing a study?
Well, first of all, we would not need to spend a penny, and we would be able to derive the results as a public record. So that is something that we can feel comfortable about, and if the Dare County communities want to proceed forward, we can wait for the study to be produced and receive a copy of it.
And even with the Army Corps, we can get their study. They even said that, you know, that's a copy of information that's available too.
And again, as the board knows, we were now in our third year of a 3-year study, so the board has taken a cautious approach and wants to see what the science is actually on the Currituck County beaches to see if Currituck indeed has a problem that needs to be addressed, and if so, how.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm sure, Bob, you've seen this as well, is I personally have gotten a whole bunch of emails that ironically are identically worded, and it has to do with concerns of the beach and some of the areas that were impacted by the nor'easter that we had about a month ago now.
I think we all have, yeah.
2 weeks in a row of, you know, being at the beach, there has been significant replacement of that sand, just the way we've been, you know, told by the engineers that have been doing our analysis. A lot of the sand is already back on the beach, and you can see, I know off of Whalehead, that sandbar is moving ashore. So, you know, and again, I would encourage those that are concerned or are from out of town and don't understand the dynamic, you know, storms take the sand, it dumps it into the sandbox, and then over time it moves it all back in. So I with the amount of recovery that I've already seen,
It's significant.
I think we're going to
Yeah.
be fine. So.
It is. It's significant. You can see it moving in. Fair weather waves push that sand right back up again. So it takes a little while for the dune to rebuild, obviously. And but we've seen that. So I was just showing the board prior to the meeting pictures from the last nor'easter we had, I guess about 4 years ago, and it exposed old steps and walkways that were 10 or 15 feet in some cases below the existing one, and that's where the dune used to be. And so it's not uncommon, obviously, for that dune line to shift, move up and down. And, yeah, there's going to be some areas that are impacted, but as the manager said, we're taking a cautious approach to it and doing the beach nourishment study. And to follow up just for a moment on that email chain we've got that was just a copy and paste, we can't take $18 million of occupancy tax and just use it on that. There's lots of other projects that funds that people enjoy, like the park in Corolla, the Whalehead Club, the Boat Museum, the Greenway that we built out there, numerous other projects that affect tourism in this county. 30% of it has to go towards just advertising to get tourists into the county. So there is a path forward in the future. When we get there, we'll explore those options and we'll just deal with it then.
That's all I have.
That's what we have. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, sir. Okay, the next item is public hearings. Item A, it's a public hearing on the Currituck County annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. And I'll ask for our county manager can just kind of recap a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, as required by general statute, this is a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget as presented to you at your last meeting on May 16th. You have before you a balanced budget maintaining the current tax rate at 46 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, which is tied for the 9th lowest tax rate of the 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. The recommended budget totals $126,914,856 for all county operations. Of that amount, $68,400,218 constitutes the general fund. The general fund is the fund through which education, human resources, public safety, community services, planning, and general government services are provided. After this public hearing, that does not mean that the budget process is over. I know the board has some interest in having further discussion about some particulars of the budget, and the board is talking about having a work session between now and your next meeting. At your next meeting, you may adopt the budget. The budget just must be adopted prior to July 1. And even if you need more time after June the 20th, your next meeting, to discuss some items in the budget, that can be accommodated, again, just so long as the budget is adopted by June 30. So, Mr. Chairman, I turn it back to you for...
Okay, thank you.
If I could real quick, one of the things that you had mentioned is the 9th lowest tax rate in the state, and I want to say Dare County actually
Yeah,
has a tax rate that's below Currituck County.
Well, actually,
but what is
yes, I know where you're going.
deceptive about that tax rate is that does not include the municipality tax, as well as the beach nourishment tax that is attached to all of that. So while I want to say 40 cents looks cheap compared to Currituck County, by the time it's all said and done, it's closer to 82 cents per 100. So
What, 86?
Well, that's the important aspect of among county rates.
Correct.
You're tied for the 9th lowest.
Yes.
But you're exactly right. If you do add the municipality tax rates within all but Currituck and Hyde counties, which are the only counties in the state without incorporated areas, that's exactly right. Their tax rate is higher than.
by close to double, depending on where you want to go in
Correct.
there.
So pretty much they got it good here, and if they don't like it, the housing market's still good, you could always move.
All right, at this time, I'm going to go ahead, and it was advertised for the public hearing portion of this. Time for the citizens or anyone to come up with any questions, comments, concerns about the budget that was presented to this board. I have no one signed up at this time. Is there anyone that showed up late in the audience that wishes to come forward with any comments or concerns with the budget? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. And I would like to make a suggestion to the board that we do have a follow-up work session. My understanding is maybe Wednesday of next week is a good day for most of the commissioners. And if we want to do an earlier time, or does anyone have a suggested time of start? You said 4?
About 4:30.
Okay, with 4:30 then, to give some working people a little time. 4:30, okay, Kitty?
I feel like we're on an episode of Shark.
I know.
Yeah.
Gamble.
You're off.
Would you be okay with 4:30?
I guess I'll have to be.
Well, it would give Paul more time and be okay for,
And let me just say, I mean,
It's
if
gonna be
Kitty
tough for
has
you.
to leave early because you got to get on the road, then that's certainly an option.
Yes.
I'll get here as early as I possibly can.
Understood.
I cannot change that.
understand.
4:30 is easier for me to get here too.
Okay, well, let's schedule for next Wednesday at 4:30. We'll have a work session and see if we can't finish it up, everything at that time. Okay. All right, so takes care of new business item.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment about this budget. This is the 20th county budget I've worked on,
Okay.
and they're always based on projections. And this one is more of a crapshoot with the way things are going in this country in terms of inflation and fuel prices that we've ever done. And it's tough on households, individuals, and it's tough on the county. We hope we can hit the marks that we're projecting, but we're going to do the best that we can do as a board. And with the help of staff and our Heavenly Father, maybe we'll hit this thing correctly.
Thank you, Commissioner Owen. All right, we're going to move on to the new business. And under new business, the first item is consideration of an amendment to the Board of Commissioners Rules and Procedures to provide for a reading of a Code of Ethics statement at each meeting, and I'll turn this over to our county manager.
Mr. Chairman, before you tonight is an ordinance that will amend two sections of the Code of Ordinances, specifically the Board's Rules of Procedure. Bottom line that the ordinance amendment will require is that there be a ethics statement read at the beginning of the board by the chair or the chair's designee. So as we'll go ahead and get into the actual ordinance amendment itself. On page 1, line 25, will be an amendment to power of the chair. The first is just editorial change, basically at line 33, changing the word his to their. And then getting into the more meat of it is on page 2, beginning at line 2, there would be the requirement that the chairman would read or designate someone to read the following ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder itemized in the board agenda order of business. In accordance with Chapter 2, Division 3 of the Currituck County Code of Ordinances, that is the County Commissioner's Code of Ethics, it is the duty of every commissioner to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any commissioner have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the Board of Commissioners in this meeting? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter involved. The next amendment would be to Section 2-65 under your rules of procedure, the order of business, and would place the reading of this ethics awareness and conflict of interest matter as your third item of business immediately following the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd be glad to answer any questions the board might have.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just say something on
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Mr. Kenny, I appreciate what the point of what this is, but I just want to make a few statements, and maybe the public doesn't know this, that every couple of years, we as commissioners have to go through ethics training. After the general election, we as a board generally tend to go to a day or two of classes on a variety of subjects, not least of which is ethics training. And so we are compelled to do that every couple of years just to remind us of where we are. In addition to this, we also take an oath of office. I took one as a Marine, and now I've taken one as a county commissioner. You had said that public confidence, you felt like this might help restore some public confidence in the BOC, and I think this board personally has done a very good job of recusing themselves or bringing any conflict of interest to light. The chairman has stepped away numerous times for conflicts of interest within whatever contracts may be initiated or an agenda item before us. I myself have stepped away as well. And I think the election, the primary, also answered the public's confidence. And our board members, with Commissioner Etheridge winning his primary and the chairman winning his primary again. So I'm fine with this. I'll vote for it. But I do, I feel like I'm a very ethical person, and I don't think I have to have this statement in public to make myself be held to an ethical standard. And that's it. I just had to get that off my chest. I think that's it. I just had to get it off my chest because I take my oath of office very seriously, and to think that there may not be confidence in us that we are not ethical in what we do. We don't reveal any of those things or relationships that we have. I think you've recused yourself too, haven't you,
I've
Kevin?
recused myself
Yes.
a couple. This term, I had to recuse myself before for a couple things, probably 3 times in 6 years.
Yeah. So anyway, I just I want to say that I trust my fellow board members and where they're at as far as being ethical people and true to their oaths.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner White.
May I say something?
Yes, you may.
I think this speaks more than just being an ethical person and public confidence. I think what this does, and we do this at every meeting before COA, we also take an oath for that office as well. We did it for Trillium and numerous other boards. To me, this not just is about ethics, it's about transparency too. I feel like with the inclusion of the word appearance of conflict, a lot of times when Mr. McCree was our county attorney in name and only our county attorney, he would often tell us we couldn't recuse ourselves because we have a duty to vote.
Right.
And I think what this does is it's not about recusal in a lot of cases, because I think it's a cut and dry case of when you have to be recused. It's a very strict part of the law that causes recusal. Otherwise, you have to vote. I think what this does is give people confidence that if there's in their mind an appearance of a conflict of interest, it indeed is not a conflict of interest many times. And to me, I believe that is a benefit to us as commissioners as well as to the public. So to me, this simple statement is a win-win situation. It is a win for us as commissioners because it instills that confidence that we have an obligation to vote, and although there may be a conflict of interest, it can be cleared up that indeed there's not. So I think this simple little inclusion is a win for us as commissioners. It's a win for the citizens of Currituck County as well. Thank you.
So, and you bring up a good point that I think probably needs to be added to this or part of the verbiage, because while we're asking about the appearance, and I get it, you know, the appearance of evil, and while certainly that's important to be brought up, again, the board's done a fairly decent job of saying, hey, you know, I met with so-and-so, but it was before it was, you know, et cetera. I've participated in that as well in the interest of full disclosure. But again, there may be an expectation, and let me ask you, on the Trillium board, for example, are you required to vote on an issue if you want to be recused or COA? In other words, you have a potential perceived...
I can't really answer that question because in the year almost that I've been on there, almost 2 years rather, we haven't had that conflict. So I don't know if we're compelled to vote. I don't think we're compelled to vote because let's face it,
I would agree with that. So
the
difference is you're not compelled to vote on some of these boards, and I've been on boards as well. For example, the ARPO, right? One of them is, do you own property in the county that you're going to be voting on issues? Yeah, no kidding, right? But so we're going to say, hey, I have a conflict of interest or perceived blah, 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 but that has to be followed up with, and this is, you know, we are compelled to vote, you know, and we'll go down that, and we've done it in the past. But I think there's going to be a perception that, my gosh, what was that? God bless you. Is that you? That was not a very manly sneeze.
Okay, all right.
But the potential exists that it's going to cause confusion that, you know, I'm not sure we're going to get the results that we're hoping to. But I too I'm, you know, fine with voting for this, but it needs to be caveated with the requirement to vote. That's all I have.
So maybe that last sentence, if so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter. Maybe it should be more of like the COA statement. If so, please identify the conflict of interest or appearance of conflict of interest that may prevent you, may stop you. I don't know what word you want to put there from participation in this matter. That put the word may there.
Well, let me just add, this statement, it does ask the commission to identify it. We've always had our county attorney, and I think the commissioners have asked sometimes too, that to let us know legally based on the involvement we have, should we recuse ourselves or required. And based on his decision, we made a judgment whether we stayed and voted or if we did have to. I mean, he would let us know what the actual law states or rule
Well,
states, or
there's-
she, excuse me.
There's got to be some clarification there because commissioner cannot recuse herself. The board has to recuse the commissioner.
They can be asked to be, yeah,
So, and refrain, if there's only an appearance of conflict, you wouldn't refrain from participation. Am I correct in that? If it's only the appearance, you wouldn't refrain?
That's correct. I mean, as I've told you a number of times, you are required by statute as county commissioner to vote on matters unless they're specifically related to your own financial interest or your personal character. So there may be something that has an appearance of a conflict.
So let's delve into that. What is an appearance of conflict? Okay, we have a petitioner before the board. I've done business with them, or someone else on the board has done business with them. That in and of itself is not necessarily an appearance of conflict, is it? Or
No,
is it a
no,
conflict?
it's not.
It's only if there's a financial gain from the commissioner side.
Well,
Right? There's a potential
well, not just financial gain, but now our General Assembly has gone further and required you, for example, to not participate in a legislative context in matters that may involve your own or your family or a personal friend or business associate's application, and you've always kind of had that requirement with regard to use permits or quasi-judicial matters. So, but in the instance of having a conflict of interest in any other matter, it may be just enough just to be able to say, yes, I've got a relationship where I know this person, but that will not prevent me from acting what I believe to be in the best interest of the county and in accordance with law. And then you're required to continue to participate, but at least a disclosure has been made and explanation given.
And
I think
we've
that's
had
important.
that before. Yeah, and we've had some commissioners
Well,
make that statement. Yeah,
Like, I mean, if you, I mean, like, and there's all of us that sit up here that sit on advisory boards that we're friends. I mean, I played baseball with Jason Weeks and played summer ball with him. I'm friends with him. So if he brings something before Parks and Rec and I vote for it for the county because we played ball in high school, I mean, is that an appearance if I ate lunch with him or I held the door open for his wife?
No, I think that maybe goes a little bit further.
Well, it
now.
raises a question if similar types of business, and you have somebody up here asking for a change, and it might benefit the business that you've got, but it's not you.
Right.
You know, that's an appearance of a conflict.
Well, and
of
then
interest.
I think if you disclose that and
Well, I've
our
had that.
attorney says that, that's an appearance, but you're required to vote. I think just disclosing that, once again, protects you, because you don't want, well, they didn't disclose that and you know how the people
Well,
are
it's the same thing like far as I used to do when I was a commissioner the first time. I did some of the landscaping contracts for the county, and somebody some moron posted on social media, he does county contract work. It's been a decade. 2012 was the last check I received from the county.
But in any event, there are exceptions for that, and we've
Yeah.
gone through that process to allow for that to occur in a county of this size without a municipality. So,
Which you can do, what is the number? Is it 40,000?
40,000.
40,000.
The statement that I read at one of the meetings says refrain from any undue participation in the matter involved. I think if I were to disclose that John Smith's doing work for me, and then I keep just over and over and over and over again encouraging by saying things undue participation. I should be able to participate, but if you make it so relevant that I'm trying to get so.
I think that's the problem. So, if you like and respect me, for instance, there's probably only a couple people that do, but if you like and respect me, and I come in here and there's someone here before us, I've hired that person to do a work for me. The naysayers, the first thing out of their mouth is going to be, well, but I got that done for free.
Bless you.
There was a kickback. Or if you like and respect me and value my opinion, well, now that I just gave that guy a nod. that I have, this is the person that I choose. I didn't choose that contract to do this job. I chose that contract to do this job. And for me, we see it all the time. Naysayers in social media that it's going to be flying around. So-and-so did a job, but he got a kickback, but they did it for free. I mean, where does it end? And I think the problem is, like I said earlier, is that we have, all of us, gone above and beyond to point out when we have had a conflict of interest or an appearance of a conflict of interest, and ask the county attorney just about every single time for a rendering, if not during the meeting, before the meeting, and again during the meeting, just to make sure that we were okay, again, on the ethics side of things. And so that's the problem with an appearance of conflict or a conflict of interest. And that, I choose to do business in this county. Obviously, I live here, and I want to support business in this county. There's several of them that have been before us that I've used before. I've used engineers that have been before us. Should I disclose that I used Bissell to survey my lot? And so that's my question. Really gets down to, what is an appearance of the conflict of interest, or an appearance therein because I used an individual? And I don't think I should have to disclose whom I do business with every time I do something in this county with someone.
I bought chicken at Royal Farms when I went to Maryland and got my wife's vehicle, and I voted on their thing. I know I'm just kidding.
So, but that's
I mean,
going down the rabbit hole.
I understand, and I get it, right? Because, the assertion is that the quote unquote some in the public have lost faith in the board, and I don't know that that's going to significantly shift one way or the other, no matter what we do up here. But I don't have a problem with, reminding folks that we need to identify whatever. But but if we don't have, a definitive, undue influence, that can run. That's hard to define, and I don't know. I don't have a problem with an ethics statement being read out, as long as it's caveated with immediately following that with the requirement to vote on an issue, blah, 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 right? That I think they should be in tandem. And then, and the board can, bring up what needs to be brought up. But, yeah.
Well, I think something, go ahead.
Excuse me. So we're being ethical. We're saying we're all being ethical, so I see no problem with having a statement read before the meetings. Everybody, all the boards I serve on, there's a statement that's read. A lot of counties.
Right. I just want to know where
What is the definition
right,
of
where's the
appearance?
line drawn? Because, like I said, all of us do business with businesses here in this county, whether and across the gambit, and those businesses at some point or another will come before this board at some point. And Commissioner Jarvis taught half the kids that have come through this county over the years,
Probably.
and so those families will come before us. And is that a conflict of interest? Could she have an emotional thought dealing with this student or not? Maybe had a particular family that she really thought a lot of. They went to church with her or whatever. The point is that
No, that's
right?
not a conflict.
I don't think it is either. But you could say that you look at someone differently because you've known them their whole life, right? And
Maybe.
you have an affinity for those individuals or not.
Or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
Or not. And so there, and you go back to the statement, but I can fairly listen to this coming before us tonight. But
If I needed to disclose every time a former student came before me, I have no problem with that. In fact, once again, if people doubted whether I was going to be impartial, I would gladly identify. I mean, to me, once again, the importance of this doesn't just rest in what people think. It's a way to protect ourselves and to say, I do business in this county. I taught school in this county. I'm a law enforcement officer. I've been a commissioner in this county. I mean, all of that. It's a way of protecting ourselves and our integrity is just my
Question on the verbiage then, in the last paragraph, after it says, please identify any appearance and refrain from,
Well, you
that's
might-
almost like, should we say, and may be required to
Refrain
To
from
refrain.
any undue participation.
Or refrain from any participation in the matter involved unless otherwise provided by law.
Yeah, because is this way it reads right now is if you identify it, then you need to refrain from it.
Right, so you say, if so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter involved unless otherwise provided by law.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds great.
What?
And
Okay, say that one more time. Because it
Last-
sounded
last
like I
paragraph.
can identify that I have a potential conflict of interest.
yes,
I'm commanded to vote, but yet now I'm not supposed to participate in the meeting.
no, if so, please identify the conflict of or appearance of conflict, which you would that would be
Got it.
that would be
Which
identified.
we do now.
Okay?
And refrain from any participation in the matter involved unless otherwise provided by law. And that is reflective of the general statutory requirement
says
that
you're required to
commissioners
vote.
are required to vote on every matter that comes before them except for those involving their financial interest or their personal character.
And then that should be followed up with that.
Well, that's just flip the script. If that's read in,
Right.
and then the question is raised, are there any potential conflicts of interest before the board tonight or any members? You know, it's inverting it, but it changes the emphasis. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to ask an example. About a year ago, Nutrien came in for rezoning and to enlarge, build a warehouse there at Shawboro, their fertilizer plant. We do business with Nutrien, a lot of business. Is that a conflict of interest? Did I voted on it?
Well, with the way
well,
the new law is written.
Yeah, and the new law is written, I don't want to take a close look at that statute. I don't have that in front of me, but to see whether that might be a business relationship that might constitute a requirement to not participate in that matter.
And that's exactly why I recused myself from the voting on that property behind the McDonald's and Grandy, because the interested party I do a lot of business work for, and I was recused, and the board accepted it based on the new law, the way it was written. So. All right, so are we at adding a line, or,
I think this has to be cleaned up a little bit before we
okay.
pass it.
Vote on it.
And I like your input. I think the state statute as to what we're supposed to vote on, I would like to consider reading that first, and then follow up with any conflict or perceived conflict of interest. Because that sets the stage for what's related there, and then the board can act accordingly.
I mean, like I said, we could be up here for hours. I mean, and I'm not being funny, but I mean, like, if Coin Jump Marina came in here, every one of us up here is ate at Coin Jump Marina.
I don't think that's.
No, I mean, okay. No, but I'm saying, I mean, would you disclose if they were trying to add on to something, you know, and I worked there 10 years.
Close if every time you ate there, they paid for your lunch.
Well, that's not
That's
happening.
what
Now, I
you-
worked there for 10 years, and I did get free food then when I was younger, so
But I mean,
I don't know
if every time I went in Coin Jump Marina, they paid for my lunch, and then they came up here, yes, I need to let the public know that.
But okay, so using that example, you know, Kitty eats an awful lot at Coin Jock Marina. I wonder
Yeah.
if she's getting
getting
charged
free meals.
for everything that she's consuming. I'm not implying one thing at all.
But the public's saying now, so if I say, oh, I've been getting free meals at Coin Jump Marina, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to.
That's
Well, that's, I might
All right, well, good.
put it up for you.
Kevin, arrested.
All right, so let's do this, okay. I think the county manager is going to add a little bit to this, and maybe,
I'll recraft this and circulate it among the board.
and then make any comments, and then we'll bring it before the next meeting for a vote for adoption or not at the next meeting. So yeah, get something out there, email it, provide your feedback, and then we'll bring it for a vote on the next meeting.
Okay, so you want a motion for that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, somebody make that
All right.
motion.
Well, then I'll make a motion to have the county manager make those modifications and present it to us at our next meeting on the 20th of June, I believe, is our next one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay. The next item is the board appointments, and I believe we have a Recreation Advisory Board appointment.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Renee Dowdy to go on that board.
Okay, I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
And Leanne, for, I know Bill came off of the FIAB. We need to look at the FIAB appointments for coming up, because I think we have at least one.
I think we're going to see a bunch of them.
Yeah, I think I talked to Leanne. She's going to get a list back out to us
Okay,
again for,
okay. Yep, yep.
And we do have
And
some-
I'm aware of that. I just want to make sure that we get them appointed.
I
in
believe
time
we have
for the
some
next
people
meeting.
that can still do a third year that are, but, okay, yep.
Thank you.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good. All right, next item is the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And this time, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn from our regular meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And at this time, I'll convene into the special meeting, Tourism Development Authority, and I'm going to turn this over to our county manager for this.
Mr. Chairman, this matter is also before you tonight for public hearing on the proposed budget. Tourism, you were sitting as a Tourism Development Authority, which pursuant to statute is you as the Board of Commissioners serves as the governing body of the Tourism Development Authority. The Tourism Development Authority derives its revenue from the occupancy tax, which again has been provided for by the General Assembly. Originally, there was 3% occupancy tax, which was provided to be spent for tourism-related expenditures. Over the course of the years, that legislation was amended to add an additional 1%, two-thirds of which was to promote travel and tourism, and one-third for tourism-related expenditures. And then later, an additional 2% was added, two-thirds to be used to promote travel and tourism, and one-third for tourism-related expenditures. The statute provides for what promote travel and tourism means, which is basically to advertise, market an area or activity, publish and distribute pamphlets and other materials, conduct market research, engage in promotional activities, and importantly, not just for tourists, but for business travelers to be attracted to the area as well. That portion of the occupancy tax may also be used for expenses incurred in engaging in those activities. And so the Tourism Development Authority, this body, this entity, has contracted with Currituck County to provide for the Tourism Development Authority's services and promotional activities. And so the occupancy tax fund is properly paid to Currituck County pursuant to that agreement to provide for that part of the Tourism Development Authority's activities. The second part is tourism-related expenditures. And it's important to remember that under the statute, tourism-related expenditures is defined as expenditures that, in the judgment of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners, are designed to increase the use of lodging facilities, meeting facilities, recreational facilities, and convention facilities in a county, not in a part of a county, but in a county, by attracting tourists, but not just tourists, or business travelers to the county. And the term includes tourism-related capital expenditures. And so what is proposed in this budget in the amount of $11,537,023, in addition to the promotional activity, is the payment of a portion of the cost to provide emergency medical services and fire and sheriff's law enforcement services in our tourist area, the beaches, to help defray the costs and the impact from the increased tourism during a certain part of the year, to provide funding for historic Corolla Park capital, to provide for lifeguard services, to provide for beach walkovers. A community park acquisition in Gibbs Woods is proposed, as well as airport matching funds for various grants that the county is looking to receive. And so, Mr. Chairman, I'll commend this budget to the board for its public hearing.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I do. Gibbs Woods. How is a neighborhood park going to be tourist related?
Well, if we go back again to our definition, well, expenditures that in the judgment of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners are designed to increase the use of recreational facilities in a county by attracting tourist or business travelers. I mean, we certainly use that justification for other county parks, but
I get it. Mangum Park, we have tourists traveling through the county. Gibbs Woods is a little bit different animal. I guess I'm struggling with that one after bringing that up again and thinking about it between now and the last time we talked about it.
But that be an item that we want to discuss further at your
I think
budget
so.
work session.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think so because it's not like our parks over here. We have people coming in. You know, this is probably more truly a neighborhood serving thing. So
Yeah, we'll discuss that then on our
so
budget meetings. All right, any other discussions at this time? I mean, questions like that we'll bring up at our work session. Hearing no other questions, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing portion of the Tourism Development Authority annual budget. I have no one signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. And I guess we'll bring up our discussions on our follow-up meeting Wednesday. The next item is the TDA budget amendments that we have. I need a motion.
do we need a motion to move this the public hearing, or is this until the June 20th meeting?
No, you're
we're not
holding your
voting.
public
Moving it
hearing
open.
now, and
Right.
and you may continue to work and modify the
Right.
budget
That's good.
until it's adopted.
Thank you.
So now we just need a motion on some action on the budget amendments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, at this time I'll ask for a motion to adjourn from the meeting of TDA.
So moved.
Motion is second from Mr. Commissioner Concord. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. At this time, I'll now convene the board into the special meeting, Ocean Sands Water and Sewage District Board, and I'll turn this over to our county manager again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This matter is before you also for the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District budget public hearing. This board, as the county commissioners under state law, serves as the governing board for the Ocean Sands Water and Sewer District, which is an entity that's created under the general statutes, and in this particular instance, historically was created as a result of a settlement agreement between Coastland Corporation and Currituck County, in which part of that settlement agreement called for the county to create a water and sewer district that would provide water and sewer services for what we now know as Ocean Sands subdivision. The budget proposal amount is $2,662,548, which will be utilized again to provide for water and sewer services within Ocean Sands subdivision. Capital highlights proposed in this budget for the water portion of the water and sewer district is upgrade aging infrastructure and meter replacement. And as to sewer, would be some modification and upgrade of certain aspects of the sewer treatment plant and its infrastructure. Also noteworthy is that in the coming fiscal year, there will be the second year of a 3.5% rate increase in rates for water and sewer, as agreed to by the board previously, and instituting a 10-year period of time in which rates will gradually increase the same amount for that period of time. And there will be ongoing meter replacement, as I mentioned, will also continue to be a capital project during the course of the fiscal year. I commend this to the board for public hearing.
Okay, any questions on this from the board? Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing portion of the Ocean Sands Water and Sewage District annual budget for fiscal year 2022, 2023. Have no one signed up? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to come forward and discuss this? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this, and we will address this at our work session if any questions come up, and then And then we'll take action as far as approval all at the same time when we do all the budgets at once. All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn from our meeting of the
Adjourn.
motion.
Second.
Motion for a second we're good. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank everyone. That concludes our meeting for this evening.